What knowledge gives you a different world after knowing it? 1. Don't focus on what the other person said, but think about why they said it. Last night my dad called me and told me that the weather would get colder in late January, reminding me to keep warm. I told him I would come back to visit him, and he hung up the phone happily, stopping his process of educating me about the weather. He was just telling me, "Come back early, I miss you." But people from his generation couldn't express this kind of longing. They expressed their feelings in various indirect ways. Christmas is coming soon, and my girlfriend told me that there's a guy who has been pursuing her lately and even gave her a gift today. After she finished speaking, she paused for a moment to see my reaction. So naturally, I started feeling jealous and expressing love towards her while also opening the shopping app during this process. She only had two motives for telling me this. A. To test if I care about her. B. She wants a Christmas gift. My 4-year-old nephew called me and said he missed me and wanted me to accompany him to play. He had two needs. A. The house is boring. He wants me to take him out for exciting trips or activities. B. He wants candy which only I will secretly give him. Since I couldn't go with him immediately, I told him that there are monsters where I am right now so I can't leave, but as an award for fighting monsters in my country they send candies which will be sent to him instead. When I didn't understand this principle before, I thought the world was complicated and difficult to have relationships with people. But slowly mastering this way of thinking made the world gradually become simpler. This ability requires practice through empathetic thinking. In the beginning, mistakes are common, but having this awareness prevents living in a confused state. Every successful or failed perception becomes part of the knowledge base. This can also cultivate observational skills. When you truly use this ability, you will find that the conflicts you had with others before were discussing different issues, being unable to recognize each other's needs, and expressing your own needs. 2. Initiate communication, and give more compliments. It determines how someone sees you based on your relationship. When I was in college, I had a good female friend, and whenever we went out together, I found that we were in different difficulty levels of the world. At that time, I was still at an angry age and thought she was at an easier level because of the law where people were more willing to help attractive girls. Later on, I made friends with some guys who were also simpler than me, and only then did I realize that what I lacked was one quality they possessed: proactive communication. But at that time, I considered myself noble-minded and looked down upon these interpersonal skills. Later on, after self-reflection, I realized it wasn't integrity but rather narcissism. I always had some kind of unrealistic fantasy where sitting in the library with a focused attitude while having a stack of heavy books placed in front would attract girls with rich inner qualities. This fantasy came from narcissism, unwillingness to make efforts but believing excellence alone could gain favor from others, deceiving oneself. Unless my appearance resembled a celebrity's, no one had time to see how thick those books were in front of me. I started trying to let go of my low self-esteem and communicate more with people as equals without unrealistically fantasizing about deeply attracting them, thus reducing life's difficulties. When interning at the rescue station, this quality helped me greatly by actively communicating, which reduced life's difficulties. Don't immediately express your own needs when first meeting someone. Once familiarized naturally, they will be willing to go out of their way for you. People like those who can benefit them. Praise is the simplest way to establish relationships. Complimenting the egg pancake seller's delicious pancakes at a stall, after chatting for a while, maybe she will make a bigger one for you. Compliment middle-aged women on their beauty. Compliment young girls on their gentleness and attractiveness. Compliment boys on maturity. Compliment elders on their patience towards you. Just simple words that can make your world different. More and more experiences made me truly realize that what determines someone's attitude towards you is not what kind of person you are but rather your relationship with them. I received more care at the rescue station not because of my identity but because I was familiar with them. 3. Find your role. People often ask me, why is your relationship with the teacher so good? Are you better at flattery? Yes, indeed I am good at flattery, but I think the key is that I know I am a student. Having a good relationship with the teacher means having a good teacher-student relationship. Students are required to respect knowledge and love learning. As long as this is achieved, the relationship with the teacher will not be bad. I think the ability to find one's position is what distinguishes a person's maturity. When playing cards with friends, you must always win and show off your intelligence. If others make mistakes in their play, you complain endlessly. We are all friends playing together for fun. If you can't find your position and always want to show off your excellence and seek praise from others, not many people would want to play with you. The complexity of life lies in sometimes conflicting roles we have to play. Strive to fulfill our main roles well while appeasing secondary roles, and life will become much smoother. 4. Anxiety comes from imagination. Others do not have preconceived notions about you. It is something you give yourself in positive psychology courses. There is often an activity. Stand on stage and shout in front of classmates. Let it out. Those who have had such an experience will surely have a magical feeling. Sitting below thinking about going up later, feeling very nervous and worried that they won't be able to shout when the time comes. The more they think about it, the less nervous they become. But when they stood up there and let go of shouting, I found that things were different from what I thought. When I could focus on shouting at myself, the anxiety disappeared completely. A psychological experiment. A group of volunteers was told to experience discrimination. They had scars on their faces. Then they were dispersed into public places and asked them to talk about their experiences when they returned at night. Many people said that they had experienced discrimination, but in fact, the staff had already wiped off their scars as an excuse to touch up their makeup before they went out. The anxiety from the outside world comes from one's perception of oneself. One's perception distorts the real information received from the outside world. Most of our anxiety in interpersonal relationships stems from feeling inadequate and not good enough, when in reality others don't even think we should be outstanding. 5. Find out what you want. We often say that high-quality men and women are more respectful towards others. They are not easily angered or forceful towards others. They are gentle and refined. All these do not come from having higher patience or emotional intelligence. It is simply because they don't care. Caesar was extremely brave. When surrounded by the Senate elders attacking him, he stood tall like a war god until he saw his wife among the crowd of assassins. He disappointedly put down his weapon. Even the most outstanding individuals become vulnerable when faced with something they care about. The best way to stop caring about external opinions is not to avoid them altogether, but rather to find what you truly strive for and care about. In my counseling experience, the visitors undergo 2 stages of significant change. 1. Accepting current circumstances significantly reduces their anxiety. 2. Finding what they want starts alleviating depression, and life becomes positive. Counseling has become much easier when I realized that visitors have found what they want. There is no need to envy those positive people. You can't imitate them anyway. The answer lies within yourself. Many people ask, I just don't know what I want. What should I do? The first word in find out what you want is find. Whenever you feel tired of searching, tell yourself, this is giving myself an opportunity. 6. One feeling can only be replaced by another. When you see a little girl crying in front of you, what would you do? Men usually tell jokes, give her a lollipop, and hope to replace her tears with happiness. Women usually gently hug her, ask what's wrong, and provide comfort and solace. We know how to deal with sadness, but we never use it on ourselves. When you are sad, you don't realize that the best way is actually to go out and find something fun, to do something enjoyable. You don't know that you need to console yourself and encourage yourself. We always force ourselves not to be sad, we should be strong. Most of our ways of treating ourselves are very violent. Like when a little girl is crying, you walk up to her and say fiercely, "No crying." No crying. How can this method stop the little girl from crying? How can this method alleviate your sadness? Sadness and pain cannot be suppressed, but another feeling can replace them. 7. Don't expect anyone to understand you. Lower your expectations of this world. I used to be in pain because I thought the world was so beautiful and yet I was so unfortunate. The reason why I am calm now is because I know that this world itself is malicious. When someone treats me well or praises me, it's all earned by myself. Others won't understand me, nor do they have an obligation to understand me, including my parents. I have no reason to hate them. It's my responsibility to make others understand me, and if anyone is willing to understand me, I should be grateful. The world is terrible, but I am happy. 8. Free yourself from suppressing desires and learn how to release them reasonably with time. Sometimes I receive private messages like, "I masturbate frequently and can't quit. What should I do?" Suppressing your actions and desires repeatedly leads to self-blame and suffering, not because your willpower isn't enough but because the method is wrong. The reason why you are obsessed with masturbation is that your life itself is too boring. Masturbation becomes the only dopamine release pathway in a boring life. We become addicted to this kind of pleasure. But there's a price for this pleasure. You need to stop this behavior, which means stopping this pleasure as well. At that moment, your enemy becomes yourself, beating yourself up while most of your subjective initiative cannot be mobilized. When I was young, I liked eating oranges, but they caused heatiness, so couldn't eat too many of them. However, controlling myself became difficult later on when my dad bought lychees, which were truly sweet compared to oranges. So then, instead of wanting oranges anymore, I started eating lychees, but they were expensive, so couldn't eat too many either. Still couldn't control myself though. Afterward, my friends and I invented interesting games that made us busy after school every day, so I didn't have time to go home and eat lychees anymore. The force released when desires are satisfied is uncontrollable. The reason why control is needed is that simply satisfying oneself comes at a great cost. What you need to control is your behavior and seek other more reasonable ways to satisfy your desires. Instead of controlling yourself every day, it's better to not steal the neighbor's underwear for masturbation, but rather focus on studying well, cultivating qualities, earning more money, making yourself better, and finding a wife who can fulfill you at home. Instead of telling yourself not to cry, it's better to cultivate more hobbies and engage in public welfare activities so that other events in life can release dopamine. This way we won't be obsessed with dopamine, which comes at a huge cost.